Hi guys, welcome back. So today's recipe is going to be a 2-day recipe. I am making my mother-in-law's birthday cake for her, and I needed to find something a little different. She wanted a vanilla cake with vanilla icing on it. Oh my god, I almost said ice cream. So anyway, I decided to do a Swiss roll. So it's very similar to the Yule Log that I made last year for Christmas. Slightly different recipe, same sort of idea where you bake it, you roll it, you fill it, then you ice it. It's very similar, but the recipe was actually different ingredients, different process. So I'm really looking forward to trying this. It's going to be 2 days because I'm going to make it tonight, put it in the fridge for the night. And then tomorrow I will ice it and do all that wonderful stuff. So I have a lot of work ahead of me, so I better get baking.
All right, first thing I'm going to do is take a small bowl and sift together 1 cup of flour and half a teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm just sifting it so that there's no lumps in it. And then I'm just going to take a whisk, mix it together, and I'm going to set this aside for now. Next, I'm going to take my mixer bowl and I'm going to add 4 large eggs to it. They are at room temperature, and I'm going to put it on my mixer with the whisk attachment, and I'm going to let it whisk until it doubles in volume and turns a really pale yellow. Next, I'm going to remove my bowl from my mixer, scrape down the sides of it, put it back on the mixer, and now I'm going to add 2/3 cup of sugar to it, just a little bit at a time until it is all incorporated. Alright, so while the eggs are mixing, I'm going to take another little bowl and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of milk, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 teaspoon of white vinegar, and a teaspoon of vanilla to it. I'm going to whisk that all together, and then I'm going to set it aside for a minute and we're going to check on the eggs. Alright, so before I remove my eggs out of my mixer, or off my mixer I've added a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Let that mix in for a minute or so. Remove it from your mixer. You're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl and you're going to check for the ribbon effect. So that's when you take your batter take your eggs and you make a figure 8 with it to see how it sort of blends back in, and it'll kind of hold its shape and then it'll melt back into itself. So if it's kind of doing that, great, you're ready to move on. If not, let it keep mixing a little bit longer. All right, so now that I've got that ribbon effect, I am going to add our little milk mixture. So add the milk mixture in, just slowly mix it in by hand, and then put it back on your mixer and let it start whipping. All right, so this next part, you're going to do it by hand. We are adding the flour into the eggs and milk. So you're going to remove you're going to remove the bowl off your mixer, and you're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl. Then you're going to take your flour and you're going to sift it again into your eggs and your milk. And then you're just going to take a spatula and you're going to slowly fold it in. You're going to make kind of like a J shape as you do this, as you're mixing it in. Just be gentle, like don't vigorously mix it all together. You just want to fold it all in until you don't see any flour left. All right, so preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. While that's preheating, you're going to get your pan ready. So you're going to take a jelly roll pan or a baking sheet that has a lip all the way around it, and you're going to put a little cooking spray on it just to help your parchment paper stick to your pan. It makes it easier when you're pouring the batter into it. So put your parchment paper on there and get ready to put your batter in. So because this is a birthday cake, I am going to add a bunch of sprinkles into the batter to make it a funfetti cake. All right, so after I mixed in the sprinkles into the batter, I'm going to now take all that batter and pour it into my prepared pan on my parchment paper. So put all the cake batter on your pan and you're just going to spread it out evenly and then pop it into the oven. All right, so this was baking for about 15 minutes and it's overcooked. So I would suggest a little bit less, not so golden brown. All right, so I've let the cake cool down just a little bit, enough for me to be able to handle it. So I took a clean tea towel and I am going to cover it in powdered sugar, and make sure you cover it really well because you don't want the cake to stick to your tea towel. So once you have it fully covered in powdered sugar, you're going to flip your cake over. I'm assuming you still have it in the pan. Take your cake, flip it over onto your tea towel, gently remove the parchment paper, and then you're going to cover it in powdered sugar as well. Again, you don't want it to stick to itself. So once you have it all covered, you're going to fold your tea towel over on top of your cake just a little bit, and you're going to start rolling it, not too tightly, but tight enough that it'll hold its shape. So roll it all up, and then you're going to take it and put it in the fridge overnight. All right, so day 2, we are making the filling, and we are also going to make the icing that's going to go on top of the cake. So for the filling, you're going to start with 4 ounces of cream cheese. Put it into your mixer bowl and let it start mixing until it is smooth and creamy. All right, so while that's mixing, you're also going to add in a half a cup of powdered sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and then you're slowly going to add in 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. So I ended up changing from the paddle to the whisk for this part so that it adds more air into it and makes it lighter. So as it's whipping, you'll notice it will get fluffier. So once it's at that nice fluffy stage, you're going to get your cake out of the fridge, unroll it, and put your filling on top of it. So my cake, because I overcooked it, you can see that it was all cracked. Not so good. I should have baked it a little less, but that's okay. It's still going to turn out. So put your filling on your cake, gently roll it back up. Yes, it's going to make a mess. Just clean it up a bit. Roll it back in your tea towel and put it back in the fridge. All right, so I thought I would be fancy and try and make a whipped white chocolate ganache for on top of this cake. So I did all the right steps. I melted the chocolate really slowly by chopping it up really fine, pouring the hot milk over it, letting it sit until it's all melted, mix it together to make sure it's combined, and then I took the plastic wrap, put it on top of it so that it doesn't get that skin on it as it sits. And then I put it in the fridge overnight to make sure it was completely cold. So it sat in the fridge for, I'd say, 12 hours. Okay, and then I took it out of the fridge. I put it in my mixer bowl. I whipped it, just like it says to. I whipped it. But it was really thick. It was beautiful. It tasted amazing, but it was really thick. So I read some tips, tried to thin it out a little, and then it curdled. And I did this twice. I had 2 epic fails. So I scrapped it, and I'm starting with something different. All right, so since the white chocolate ganache, the whipped white chocolate ganache did not work out, I'm going to make a white chocolate buttercream. So I took 2 ounces of finely chopped white chocolate and 2 ounces of heavy whipping cream. I heated the heavy whipping cream in the microwave for about 40 seconds until it was steaming, poured it over top of the chocolate. Now I'm just going to let this sit until it's all melted. All right, so in my mixer bowl, I'm mixing together a 1/4 cup of unsalted butter and a 1/4 cup of salted butter. And yes, I know my butter looks like shredded cheese, but it's not. It's because I forgot to take the butter out of the fridge, so it was too hard to use. So I grated it. Always works. Such a great way to do this. So I realized that I forgot to change my attachment. So I took the whisk off, put the paddle on, and now my butter is creamy. All right, so now that the butter is creamy and smooth, we're gonna add the icing sugar. So I'm starting with 1 cup of icing sugar and I'm gonna mix that together. Then I'm gonna check on the white chocolate, just make sure it's all melted and ready to be mixed together. Then what I'm gonna do is alternate between adding some of the icing sugar and adding some of the white chocolate, and just alternate, let it all mix in together. Until I've added 3 cups of icing sugar, and then I finish off by adding the rest of the white chocolate to it. Let it mix until it is smooth and creamy and looks perfect. Okay, just taste it, see how it turned out. If you have to add anything else to it, like maybe a little vanilla, a little bit more sugar, maybe you need to add a little bit more cream to thin it out a little bit. So just check it, taste it. If it's at a consistency that you're happy with, then you're ready to go decorate your cake. Okay, so I won't make you suffer and watch me decorate this whole cake. But what I will tell you is that when I unrolled the cake, it was cracked a little bit. So I just kind of gently squished it together a little bit more. And then I cut off both ends of the cake just a little bit, just so that it gives it cleaner edges. And then I just took a knife and started icing it. So I won't make you watch the whole process of me covering this in icing. Let's just skip to where I decorate it. So I'm keeping this very simple for decorating. I put some icing into a piping bag and I'm just going to make little flowers all across the top of it and then cover it in sprinkles. Then I picked out some really pretty candles, put 1 candle in the middle of each flower, and it's all done.
All right, you guys, it's been a really long 2 days, and I definitely had some mistakes, some screw ups, but in the end, the cake looks like it turned out absolutely perfect. It's beautiful. It's holding up well. It's not melting. It looks really great. I am so proud of how it looks. So I am not going to be able to taste this right now because I'm taking it home for her. But the ends, I cut the ends off of it so I can try this and get an idea of how good it's going to taste. So let's give it a try. Oh my gosh, it is so light and airy, and the whipped cream center, I like it better than a buttercream because it's light. It's not overpowering with sugar, and it's delicious. I didn't know what to expect. The cake is a sponge cake, and then the whipped cream in the middle, and then because I messed up the whipped white chocolate ganache, I messed it up like twice. That was terrible. I think I need some practice on that one. So I did a buttercream and I added white chocolate into it so it would still have that nice white chocolate, very delicate flavor on the outside. And it's fantastic. I am so glad that I made the buttercream with a little bit of the white chocolate in the ganache sort of style. It turned out beautifully. I think I will definitely be using that buttercream white chocolate combo again, because it is really good. It's very light and flavorful. It's fantastic. So unfortunately, I can't cut this for you, show you it any more than what it already is until she lights all her candles, blows them out, and enjoys her birthday cake. So I think it was a good recipe. I definitely have to alter some things. I know I slightly overcooked the cake because as I rolled it, it was cracking, but this is why I love baking. Sorry, this is why I love baking and sharing it with you guys, because I am not a professional by any means. So this is a learning process for me, as it is probably for most of you watching. I can learn from my mistakes. So when I go to make one of these again, I know to cook it less. I know not to overheat my chocolate or not to over whip it or let it sit in the fridge longer. These are all lessons I love about baking. So I really hope that you guys learned something today, that you enjoyed it, that maybe I helped answer some questions, or you guys might have had the same problems and saw how I dealt with them and then scratched it and started over. So anyway, thank you so much for sitting through 2 days of this with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to hit the like, subscribe, and that notification bell. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for helping me grow my channel. And I will see you for the next recipe. I promise it will not be a cake, because 2 cake videos in a row is a little much. So I will pick something completely different. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.